The greatest empire the world had ever seen did not vanish in a single day. It collapsed piece by piece, leaving behind a mystery that historians are still trying to solve. How could a civilization that ruled millions across 3 continents become too weak to save itself? The answer begins long before its final fall. Many once blamed invading armies alone. Today, historians largely agree the empire was already breaking from within, though they continue to debate which cracks mattered most. Our journey begins when Rome still appeared unstoppable, a superpower at the height of its glory, hiding weaknesses almost no one could see. Behind the triumphs, invisible pressures were already building, and one decision would quietly change the destiny of the Roman world forever. By the 2nd century AD, Rome stretched farther than any empire in its history. Roads, laws, and legions connected lands from Britain to Egypt, creating a world that seemed impossible to break. At the center of this vast empire stood Rome itself, a city of nearly 1 million people, where emperors ruled, merchants prospered, and every victory strengthened the illusion of eternal power. Protecting this empire were disciplined Roman legions. Their training, engineering, and organization made them one of history's most effective military forces. Yet an empire this vast demanded enormous wealth, loyal armies, and stable leadership. Historians agree that maintaining such a system would become one of Rome's greatest challenges. As the empire reached its greatest height, the first unseen cracks were already forming beneath its foundations. Soon, a single crisis would expose them to the world. The first great shock came after the death of Emperor Marcus Aurelius in AD 180. Historians widely regard his passing as the end of Rome's long era of stable imperial leadership. His son, Commodus, inherited an empire at its peak. But many ancient sources describe a ruler more interested in personal glory than careful government, though historians still debate parts of his reputation. Political stability began to fade. Powerful generals, ambitious politicians, and palace conspiracies slowly turned the struggle for the throne into a dangerous game. In AD 193, the empire plunged into the year of the 5 emperors. Rival claimants fought for supreme power, proving that Rome's greatest threat could come from within. Although the empire survived this crisis, its foundations had been shaken. The struggle for power had begun, and even darker decades were waiting just beyond the horizon. By the 3rd century AD, Rome entered one of the darkest periods in its history. Historians call it the crisis of the 3rd century, when the empire was threatened from almost every direction. In AD 235, Emperor Severus Alexander was killed by his own soldiers. His death marked the beginning of decades of military coups and political instability. Emperors rose and fell with alarming speed. Many ruled for only a short time before being overthrown or killed, leaving Rome without lasting stability. While leaders fought for the throne, enemies pressed against Rome's frontiers. Germanic tribes attacked in the north, while the powerful Sasanian Empire challenged Rome in the east. The empire was still standing, but every new crisis drained its strength. What had once been isolated problems were now becoming a struggle for survival. War was not Rome's only enemy. A devastating epidemic, known today as the Plague of Cyprian, spread across the empire during the mid-3rd century, weakening both its population and its armies. With fewer farmers in the fields and fewer workers in the cities, food supplies shrank, trade slowed, and the imperial economy came under growing strain. To pay soldiers and fund constant wars, emperors reduced the silver content of Roman coins. Historians agree this contributed to rising inflation and declining public confidence. As confidence faded, some provinces looked increasingly to their own survival instead of Rome's. The empire was still united on maps, but cracks were widening beneath the surface. Then came a turning point. Facing collapse on multiple fronts, Rome needed more than another emperor. it needed an entirely new way to survive. In AD 284, a new emperor emerged. Diocletian inherited an empire on the edge of collapse and believed that only radical change could prevent its destruction. Diocletian divided the burden of rule by creating the Tetrarchy, a system with 2 senior emperors and 2 junior emperors governing different regions of the empire. The reforms brought temporary stability. Frontier defenses were strengthened, government became more organized, and the empire regained precious time. But its deepest problems remained. One lasting consequence changed Rome forever. Power was no longer centered in a single city, and the empire gradually became more divided in both administration and identity. The empire had survived another crisis, but survival came at a price. Soon, a new emperor would reshape Rome in ways that still influence the world today. In AD 306, Constantine was proclaimed emperor by his troops in Britain. Few could have imagined that his rise would permanently transform the Roman world. After years of civil war, Constantine defeated his rivals and reunited the empire under a single ruler, yet unity would soon take an unexpected new direction. Following the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in AD 312, Constantine openly favored Christianity. Historians agree this marked a profound turning point in Roman history. In AD 330, Constantine dedicated a new imperial capital, Constantinople. Positioned between Europe and Asia, it would become one of history's greatest cities. The empire appeared stronger than it had in generations, but beneath this remarkable recovery, the eastern and western halves were slowly growing apart, setting the stage for a division that would never truly heal. After Theodosius I died in AD 395, the Roman Empire was permanently divided between his 2 sons. Historians regard this as the final administrative split between East and West. The Eastern Empire, ruled from Constantinople, possessed greater wealth and stronger defenses. The Western Empire, however, faced mounting military and economic pressure. Beyond Rome's frontiers, migrating peoples were also on the move. Their migrations were driven by many factors, including pressure from the advancing Huns, according to historical evidence. In AD 376, thousands of Goths crossed the Danube River, seeking refuge inside Roman territory. What began as a desperate migration soon became a major crisis. Rome's officials failed to manage the refugee crisis with fairness and competence. Hunger, corruption, and mistrust pushed the Goths toward open rebellion, and history was about to change forever. In AD 378, the growing conflict erupted at the Battle of Adrianople. It would become one of the most devastating defeats in Roman military history. Emperor Valens led the Roman army into battle without waiting for reinforcements. According to ancient sources, the decision ended in disaster, and Valens himself never returned. The defeat shattered Rome's confidence. Historians consider Adrianople a turning point that exposed the empire's military weaknesses to friend and foe alike. Even after Adrianople, the Western Empire did not fall immediately. But recovering became harder with every passing decade as new invasions and internal struggles continued. Then, in the winter of AD 406, the frozen Rhine River opened a path that changed Europe's future. Entire groups crossed into Roman territory, and the West could no longer fully control its borders. Only 4 years later, the unthinkable happened. In AD 410, the Visigoths, led by Alaric I, entered Rome and sacked the city for the first time in nearly 8 centuries. Although much of Rome survived physically, the psychological impact was immense. To many across the empire, the Eternal City no longer seemed untouchable. The Western Empire continued to lose territory. Provinces that had once supplied soldiers, taxes, and food gradually slipped beyond imperial control. In AD 455, Rome was sacked again, this time by the Vandals. The second sack confirmed that the Western Empire no longer possessed the strength to defend its own heart. By the middle of the 5th century, emperors still wore the imperial crown, but real authority had largely passed into the hands of powerful military commanders. The final chapter was now beginning. In AD 476, the Germanic commander Odoacer removed the young emperor Romulus Augustulus from the throne. Historians traditionally mark this event as the end of the Western Roman Empire. No single catastrophic battle destroyed Rome. Instead, centuries of political conflict, economic strain, military pressure, and administrative weakness slowly eroded the empire from within. Yet Rome did not disappear completely. The Eastern Roman Empire, known today as the Byzantine Empire, continued to survive for nearly another 1,000 years from Constantinople. Many historians now argue that Rome did not simply fall, it transformed. Its laws, language, architecture, and ideas continued shaping civilizations long after the Western Empire ended. The fall of Rome was not the story of one lost battle or one failed ruler. It was a reminder that even the greatest civilizations can fade when their foundations begin to weaken. The story of Rome is more than the fall of an empire. It is the story of how power can rise to extraordinary heights, and how slowly, almost unnoticed, it can begin to disappear. The evidence tells us that Rome's collapse was not caused by a single event. Confirmed historical records point instead to centuries of interconnected political, economic, military, and social change. Perhaps Rome's greatest legacy was not the empire it lost, but the civilization it inspired. Even today, echoes of Rome remain in governments, laws, languages, and cities around the world. History is not only about remembering the past, it is about recognizing the warning signs before they become irreversible. Rome's story still speaks to every generation. Empires may fall, but history never stops teaching. Thank you for watching Dark Files. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe for more true stories from history's darkest chapters.